We'll stay with the matter of the State of the Nation's address. And in recent times, government has admitted that there is a shortage of childhood vaccines in the country. Today, the president promised in his statement to Parliament that government was working to ensure that these vaccines are brought in the country. Now, we spoke to the Pediatric Association of Ghana, who are calling for swift action to be taken in terms of these vaccines, bringing them into the country to save the lives of children.
We take note of the fact that the president actually is also concerned about the current vaccine shortages and its effect on children, and implication now on our goal of eliminating vaccine preventable diseases. We also take note of the fact that the government is making every effort to ensure that we get a vaccine. But however, we are of the opinion that we didn't hear the good news as to exactly when the vaccines will be in the system. And this is where our major challenge is. We would have been more assured coming from the president, knowing exactly when we start seeing the vaccines in the system.
Now, the president also touched on government debt to domestic investors. Now, some investors refused to tender their bonds in the domestic debt exchange program. Others were also exempted, and coupon payments for these investors have matured, and government hasn't been able to make these payments. The finance minister has promised that government is going to begin making these payments from the 13th of this March, and government, the president earlier today reiterated that in Parliament. But lawyer Martin Pebu says that he is surprised that the president has refused to take responsibility for some of the economic difficulties in the country.
You see in the speech, number one, the president still not accepting responsibility, that his lack of foresight, his refusal to heed to advice from the IMF and the World Bank and etc., have led us into this economic crisis. He's still not accepting. You see him talking about COVID and Russia, Ukraine. So it tells you that the president is just not a leader. That's the plain truth. He's not a leader. When is he going to accept that it is his fault? He was the one who said he needed just 18 months to change the structure of this economy. When did COVID hit? Was COVID not in the year 2020? And by then, how many years? He had 2017, 18, 19. He had at least 3 years. So double the time he wanted. He said he would change the structure of the economy within 18 months. So we're going to reduce the importation, rely on our own production, etc., so that our city will be strong. And so if he had done all those things before COVID hit, we wouldn't have suffered. So he can't be here to say COVID and those things, blah, blah, blah. No, Mr. President just has to accept that, look, he's an abysmal failure. And so, President Akufo-Addo, you just have to resign. Mr. Kumi, that is it. Mr. Osu Kumi, that is what Mr. Akufo-Addo has to do. Just resign here in Kenoforiata, because we are suffering. We've had enough. And then we find money and lend you money as government. When it's time to pay, pay. Pay. Don't do these shenanigans like Mr. Furiata and the president are doing. So the only feeling I get is that because they become very rich through these very bonds, they become insensitive to our plight. So, in one word, the assurance is not clear enough because there's no timetable. It doesn't show. It just says we will resume payment by 13th. As when they'll finish paying, nothing. It's not good language. It's not good phraseology.
My name is Charles Ozukumi for Citi News.